We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and Ghana elevate bilateral ties to comprehensive partnership, decide to further strengthen cooperation in counter-terrorism efforts, set a target to double bilateral trade in 5 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi conferred with the National Honour of Ghana, Officer of the Order of the Star of Ghana. Prime Minister accepts award on behalf of 1.4 billion Indians. Iran ends cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog after Israel-US strikes. Washington calls it unacceptable. Also says Tehran's nuclear program degraded by up to 2 years due to strikes. Diddy Combs convicted on 2 of 5 counts in sex abuse trial to remain jailed for now on being guilty of prostitution-related offences, faces maximum 10-year sentence on each of 2 counts. Gill's stunt put India on balance against England on day 1 of the Edgbaston Test. And on to the details now. India and Ghana agreed to elevate their relationship to a comprehensive partnership after Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with President of Ghana, Dr. John Dramani Mahama. The 2 leaders discussed global issues of mutual interest, including UN reforms, 4 MOUs in the fields of culture, standards, Ayurveda and traditional medicine, and joint commission mechanism for engagement between foreign ministers were exchanged. Tapas Bhattacharya brings this report from Accra, the capital city of Ghana.
India and Ghana on Wednesday elevated their ties to the level of a comprehensive partnership after Prime Minister Narendra Modi held wide-ranging talks with President John Dramani Mahama.
आज राष्ट्रपति जी और मैंने हमारी द्विपक्षीय साझेदारी को कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव पार्टनरशिप का रूप देने का निर्णय लिया है। घाना के राष्ट्र निर्माण की इस यात्रा में भारत केवल एक सहयोगी नहीं बल्कि एक सहयात्री है।
Both sides held discussions on a wide range of issues from boosting bilateral trade and digital payment systems to maritime security and cyber security. In defense and security, the 2 nations pledged deeper collaboration guided by the principle of security through solidarity.
हमारा द्विपक्षीय व्यापार $3 बिलियन पार कर चुका है। भारतीय कंपनियों ने लगभग 900 प्रोजेक्ट्स में लगभग $2 बिलियन का निवेश किया है। आज हमने आपसी व्यापार को अगले 5 वर्षों में दोगुना करने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है।
4 key agreements were signed, paving the way for cooperation in diverse areas, including culture and traditional medicine.
The 2 sides have engaged in significant discussions to deepen cooperation across various sectors of our economy, including agriculture, energy, manufacturing, infrastructural development, human resources, and health, amongst others. On the strength of the successful engagements, we have had a number of memoranda of understanding have been signed between Ghana and India.
On global issues, both leaders agreed that terrorism is the enemy of humanity and resolved to strengthen mutual cooperation to combat the menace.
हम एक मत है कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई में सहयोग के लिए हम गाना का आभार प्रकट करते हैं। इस संदर्भ में हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म में आपसी सहयोग को और मजबूत करने का निर्णय किया है। यूएन रिफॉर्म्स को लेकर हमारा दृष्टिकोण एक जैसा है। पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप में चल रहे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को लेकर हम दोनों ने गहरी चिंता व्यक्त की है। हमारा मानना है कि यह युद्ध का युग नहीं है। डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही समस्या का समाधान होना चाहिए।
Earlier upon his arrival, in a rare gesture, President John Mahama personally received him at the airport, a testament to the deep-rooted friendship between the two nations. Making the historic visit even more special, Prime Minister Modi was given a rousing welcome by the Indian community in Ghana.
With this landmark visit, India and Ghana have opened a new chapter of trust, technology and teamwork, setting the tone for a stronger global south. With camera person Rakesh and Murmukar Sharma, this is Taposh Bhattacharya signing off from Accra, Ghana.
And earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with the National Honour of Ghana, Officer of the Order of the Star of Ghana, by the President of Ghana in recognition of his distinguished statesmanship and influential global leadership. Accepting the award on behalf of 1.4 billion Indians, Prime Minister dedicated the honour to the aspirations of the youth of India, its cultural traditions and diversity, and to the historical ties between Ghana and India. Prime Minister thanked the people and government of Ghana for this special gesture.
राष्ट्रपति जी द्वारा गाना के राष्ट्रीय अवार्ड द ऑफिसर ऑफ द ऑर्डर ऑफ द स्टार ऑफ गाना से सम्मानित किया जाना मेरे लिए अत्यंत गर्व और सम्मान की बात है। मैं राष्ट्रपति महामा जी, गाना सरकार और गाना के लोगों का हृदय से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। मैं इस सम्मान को 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की ओर से विनम्रता के साथ स्वीकार करता हूं। यह सम्मान मैं हमारे युवाओं की आकांक्षाओं को, उनके उज्जवल भविष्य को, हमारी समृद्ध सांस्कृतिक विविधता और परंपराओं को और भारत गाना के ऐतिहासिक संबंधों को समर्पित करता हूं।
And on the day one, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met with Ghana's Vice President Jane Nana Opoku-Agyemang. During his visit, the two leaders greeted each other warmly and held productive talks. Later, Secretary Economic Relations and Ministry of External Affairs Damu Ravi held a press briefing where he provided a detailed account of the Prime Minister's visit. He said that both leaders acknowledged the historic significance of the occasion as it marks the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Ghana in over 30 years.
Both the leaders acknowledged that this is a historic visit for the fact that this visit is taking place at the Prime Minister level from India after 30 years. President Mahama clearly acknowledged that it is a landmark visit that is very timely and very opportunistic at a time when Ghana is also looking for partnership with India to deepen economic engagement after its own economic rebound, recovery that it is facing, having gone through the IMF conditionalities and restructuring.
Well, from Ghana, Prime Minister Modi will leave for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago later today. India shares deep-rooted historical, cultural and people-to-people connect with the Caribbean country. He will meet President Christine Carla Kangaloo, who was the chief guest at this year's Pravasi Bharati Divas, and Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bharati, who has recently assumed office for the second term. Indians first arrived in Trinidad and Tobago 180 years ago. This visit will provide an opportunity to rejuvenate the special bonds of ancestry and kinship that unite the two nations. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is in Washington, D.C. for the Quad Foreign Ministers meet, met FBI Director Kash Patel on the sidelines of the summit. The leaders appreciated the strong cooperation in countering organized crime, drug trafficking and terrorism. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also met U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard on the sidelines of the meeting in Washington, D.C. Both the leaders exchanged their views on the global situation and the bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Addressing the press in Washington, D.C., Jaishankar said that the Quad ministers unanimously agreed on the objective of strengthening strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
We all agreed strongly that our goal in the Quad was to strengthen strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific. And this meeting, the discussions were largely devoted to enhancing delivery on various initiatives and projects. As is the practice on such occasions, we had a very open, very freewheeling discussion on regional issues of the Indo-Pacific. A lot of that was a granular analysis of different situations, different issues of the Indo-Pacific itself. But again, in the light of recent developments, it is natural that we also spend some time discussing the Israel-Iran conflict, also what the US had done in Iran.
Well, India on Wednesday voiced deep concern over the abduction of 3 of its nationals in Mali, a country grappling with a fresh wave of terrorist attacks. The Ministry of External Affairs said the Indian workers employed at the diamond cement factory in Kayes, Republic of Mali, were taken hostage during a coordinated armed assault on the factory premises on July 1st. A day after the incident, India formally called upon the Mali government to take all necessary measures to ensure their safe and expeditious release. The MEA in a statement said that the Government of India unequivocally condemns this deplorable act of violence and calls upon the Government of the Republic of Mali to take all necessary measures. Senior officials of the ministry are closely monitoring the evolving situation and remain engaged at various levels to facilitate safe and early release of Indian nationals. The ministry advises all Indian citizens currently residing in Mali to exercise utmost caution, remain vigilant and stay in close contact with the Embassy of India in Bamako for regular updates and necessary assistance. And the monsoon session of India's Parliament will commence from 21st of July and conclude on 21st of August. Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Kiran Rijiju on Wednesday said the President of India approved the government's proposal for convening the monsoon session. He added that in view of the Independence Day celebrations, there will be no sittings on the 13th and 14th of August. This monsoon session will be the first since Operation Sindoor, and opposition parties are expected to raise several issues, including a demand for a special discussion on the Pahalgam terror attack. And moving on, the Sri Amarnath Yatra, a pilgrimage to the Amarnath Cave Shrine in Jammu and Kashmir, begins with the offering of first prayer at the cave today. The 38-day-long yatra, which will culminate on August 9th, is being conducted through the Baltal and Pahalgam routes. The Jammu-Srinagar highway is a key route for the thousands of pilgrims heading to the shrine. Around 80,000 soldiers of Indian Army, CRPF, BSF, SSB, CISF, ITBP and Jammu Kashmir Police have been deployed for the security of Amarnath pilgrims. The yatra sees lakhs of devotees trek through the Himalayan terrain to pay obeisance at the Holy Cave Shrine in Anantnag district of South Kashmir. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Trump to host African leaders at White House for trade-focused talks. Wildfire forces evacuations in Crete as firefighters battle blaze near tourist areas. And in Wimbledon, top seeds Alcaraz, Sabalenka and Raducanu reach third round. Paolini crashes out. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Vipakshi Khurana. And moving on, Iran officially suspended its cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog on Wednesday. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian put into effect on Wednesday a law passed by Parliament last week to suspend cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog. Well, the law aims to ensure full support for the inherent rights of the Islamic Republic of Iran under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, with a particular focus on uranium enrichment. The law also stipulates that any future inspection of Iran's nuclear sites by the IAEA needs approval by Tehran's Supreme National Security Council. Well, Iran has accused the IAEA of siding with Western countries and providing a justification for Israel's airstrikes, which began a day after the UN agency's board voted to declare Iran in violation of obligations under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Well, the United States has slammed Iran for suspending cooperation with IAEA. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce told a regular briefing this was unacceptable and Iran must cooperate fully with the UN agency without further delay.
It is, we'll use the word unacceptable, that Iran chose to suspend cooperation with the IAEA at a time when it has a window of opportunity to reverse course and choose a path of peace and prosperity. Iran must cooperate fully without further delay.
Well, the United Nations has expressed concern over Iran's decision to suspend cooperation with the IAEA during a daily briefing. The spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the Iranian decision was obviously concerning. The UN nuclear watchdog, meanwhile, stated that it is aware of the reports, but the IAEA is awaiting further official information from Iran. Also, the Pentagon said on Wednesday that U.S. intelligence assessments indicated that the strikes on Iran's nuclear sites set the country's atomic program back by up to 2 years.
That we have degraded their program by 1 to 2 years, at least intel assessments inside the department assess that, and I think their intelligence shares that conclusion. I think we're thinking probably closer to 2 years, like degraded their program by 2 years.
Meanwhile, oil prices jumped over 3% after Iranian president approved a law suspending cooperation with the UN's nuclear watchdog. U.S. crude jumped 3.06% to settle at $67.45 a barrel, and Brent settled at $69.11 per barrel, up by 2.98% as analysts cited a revived chance of fighting between Iran and Israel. Oil prices also rose on Wednesday as traders considered expectations of a supply increase from major producers next month. The OPEC Plus group is scheduled to meet on Sunday, and the market is waiting to see if there will be another hike in August, similar to those agreed for May, June and July. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump will host leaders from 5 African nations in Washington next week to discuss commercial opportunities. Trump will host leaders from Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania and Senegal for a discussion and lunch at the White House on July 9th. The Trump administration has axed swaths of U.S. foreign aid for Africa as part of a plan to curb spending it considers wasteful and not aligned with Trump's America First policies. It says it wants to focus on trade and investment and to drive mutual prosperity. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. was abandoning what he called a charity-based foreign aid model and will favor those nations that demonstrate both the ability and willingness to help themselves. An American rapper, Diddy Combs, acquitted of major racketeering and sex trafficking charges in a New York courtroom Wednesday, but convicted on 2 lesser prostitution-related counts following a high-profile federal trial. Well, the trial lasted 7 weeks and featured allegations that Combs directed a criminal enterprise over decades. Jurors initially struggled to reach a verdict on the racketeering charge before being instructed by the judge to continue deliberating. Following the mixed verdict, Judge Arun Subramaniam denied Combs' request for bail, citing his admitted history of domestic violence, an element that helped his defense but also factored into the court's decision to keep him in custody ahead of sentencing. And the Serbian police clashed with anti-government protesters in Belgrade on Wednesday after demonstrators blocked streets demanding the release of individuals detained during previous protests. Protesters threw chairs and other objects at riot police, escalating tensions in the Serbian capital. The clashes follow violent demonstrations on June 28th, demanding snap elections and an end to the 12-year rule of President Aleksandar Vučić. Interior Minister Ivica Dačić announced that 77 people were arrested after the June 28th protest. Protests erupted in December after a Novi Sad railway station roof collapse in November killed 16 people, with demonstrators blaming corruption for the tragedy. And moving on, Greek firefighters on Wednesday battled a blaze that raged on the popular vacation destination of Crete, burning forest land, threatening homes and promoting the evacuation of residents and tourists from at least 4 settlements on the island. At least 155 firefighters, assisted by 38 engines and water trucks, battled the flames in the municipality of Lerapetra at the southeastern coast of the country's largest island. The tourist footage captured on Wednesday showed a huge plume of smoke rising from a wildfire in Firma, Crete in Greece. The video, filmed from inside a bus, was taken by a tourist who evacuated his hotel and shows travelers in the vehicle watching and recording the scene as smoke rises into the air in the distance. Greece, situated at Europe's southernmost tip, is often hit by wildfires during its hot and dry summers, but authorities have blamed a fast-changing climate for fueling more destructive blazes in recent years. And on to some sports news now. Captain Shubman Gill scored his second century of the series as he helped India finish day one at 310 for 5 against England in the Edgbaston Test. Shubman Gill and Ravindra Jadeja's unbeaten 99-run stand for the 6th wicket put India on balance at the stumps. Earlier, India's opening batter Yashasvi Jaiswal fell short of his second century of the series, getting dismissed on 87. India lost opener KL Rahul cheaply, while Karun Nair fell for 31 just before lunch. Nair shared an 80-run partnership with Jaiswal. And updates from Wimbledon 2025, a record-breaking number of top seeds crashed out in the first round, but Carlos Alcaraz and women world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka avoided second-round shocks on the centre court. Defending champion Alcaraz needed 2 hours and 17 minutes to subdue world number 733 Tawet to reach a third round. The second seed hopes to become the 5th man in the Open era to win at least 3 consecutive Wimbledon titles after John Borg, Pete Sampras, Roger Federer and 7-time champion Novak Djokovic. In women's single, top seed Aryna Sabalenka dismantled Czech Marie Bazokova 7-6, 6-4 to advance to the third round of Wimbledon on Wednesday. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and abroad on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.